This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it.
Just win, baby.
And welcome back to the Gold Jacket Podcast, proudly sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has it all: daily, weekly, and season-long best ball tournaments that are literally happening 365 days a year. Plus, you can play their pick'em props games, get 5 picks right, and you can win 20 times your money. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code TNFF, and you will get a 100% deposit on your first match, or on your first deposit, up to $100. I'm your host, Gymnastic. You can find me at Twitter at Gold Jacket Quarterbacks. You can find me in the back breaking up fights between two maniacs. As always, I am joined by the other host of this show, Connor Donald. He can be found at Twitter at Connor10. We are proud members of the True North Fantasy Network. Make sure to check out the entire network on Twitter at True North FFB. YouTube, right now, if you're checking us out, awesome, on the TNFF network, and on the internet at TrueNorthFFB.com, where you can find articles, rankings, podcast streams, and so much more. Welcome back to the final week of our Dynasty rankings revisit at each position, plus the return of the double-double, and this is tight end week. Everybody likes a tight end, but before we dive in, what's up, Connor?
Oh, what's up, Jim, man? It feels like it's been a while, but it really hasn't. But that's because last time we recorded like back-to-back 4 days apart, and we dove into running backs and wide receivers, and they're way more exciting than tight ends, let me tell you, because tight ends are far from as exciting. But we have no game to really talk about, so this is going to be a quick episode. This is probably going to be one of the quickest episodes you will ever see from us here at the Gold Jacket Podcast, because after this week, we are diving into the off season and all of the fun that is the Dynasty off season. But first, it's time to revisit. We're going to dive right into revisiting our rankings and talking about where our biggest misses were, biggest hits, biggest rises and fallers for 2022 as we look to fix our rankings up for next season. And this is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. As Jim said, make sure you use the promo code TNFF on your first deposit for a 100% deposit match up to $100. And I think I saw something just before I came on the air that they are hosting you can go in and one of their props is 1 passing yard over under for Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. So they're giving you 1 prop right then and there.
Smash the under.
Well, judging by the way that defensive line is in LA, you never know. He just might not be able to get that ball out. But yeah, so you should probably go and play, because you only have to pick 4 prop bets instead of 5 prop bets, because Underdog is literally giving you 1. So go over there now, sign up and use the promo code TNFF. And let's dive into it, Jim, our top 12 tight end dynasty rankings. Obviously, you know what? It is a crapshoot year in and year out, figuring out how the tight ends are going to fall after probably like the top 5. But I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, there was Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, and Darren Waller. Obviously, Gronk literally was carried by the first few weeks, where he had like multi-touchdown games twice and touchdowns in like 4 straight. So he was probably buoyed by that. But otherwise, we've been big Travis Kelce truthers and ride him till the wheels fall off. Are you surprised by Mark Andrews' output? I'm curious to your thoughts on Mark Andrews.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little bit surprised just based on he's so reluctant on TDs. I thought that'd be more evenly distributed through receiving core, but the guy does his damage where he does his damage, I guess, man. So,
But I mean, how much of that?
big chunk. He has a big chunk of a small pie, man. And I thought, I thought that big chunk of a small pie was going to get divvied up a little bit. But
how much of this? How much do you think is Mark Andrews' massive season an after effect of J.K. Dobbins being out, Rashad Bateman missing time, Lamar Jackson being out, so Huntley ended up relying on the easiest target to throw to. Like, do you think it's going to look a lot different at the top? Like, do you think Mark Andrews can repeat next year if Bateman's 100% healthy? You got Edwards back in the picture. You got Dobbins back in the picture. You got Lamar Jackson back in the picture.
No, I don't. I do think that Kelsey will still be there. If you're going on points per game and that's what you're looking at, and not really factoring in games missed, Kittle's going to be up there because when he plays, he ends up putting up some numbers. I don't know, man. I think Hawkinson should probably take a bit of a leap.
Oh, 100%.
Pitts should start either rising in year 2 or staying exactly where he was year 1. I don't expect him to drop from where he ended up finishing off. But is Gronk retiring with did he retire?
He hasn't announced he's retiring. He said he would be open to playing somewhere else should Tom Brady retire, and that was.
He also said he would only ever play with Tom Brady as his quarterback.
Exactly. So I don't think Gronk will be back. And like I said, I think he was more buoyed by the fact that, at the end of the season, there was no Antonio Brown. There was no Chris Godwin. At the beginning of the season, he was getting touchdowns like it was nobody's business. So, I mean, if you probably should have sold him at the beginning of the season.
If he retires, this is non-fantasy related. If he retires, does he get into the Hall of Fame with Tom Brady?
I think he should get into the Hall of Fame.
Same year. Does he go in the same class as Brady?
I don't think so.
Brady's the first ballot.
Usually first ballot. You gotta he was a great tight end. Let's not get this wrong.
Brady is hands down first ballot. He's going in as soon as he's able to.
Him, Drew Brees. There's some names that are easily going in the first year. But when I think about tight ends, those aren't guys who jump off the pages. Travis Kelce will probably go.
Oh no,
first ballot.
No, okay. So see if I'm the biggest Travis Kelce truther, but if Travis Kelce's going in as first ballot, which Gronk's right up there with Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, the Jason Wittens. He's done it. He sits there in the upper echelon on the Mount Rushmore of tight ends.
And remind me, were they first ballot though?
I'm just saying that's where he is.
I think it might become more difficult to get in as a first ballot tight end, but that's not to rule out that there's a possibility he can get there. So I won't rule it out. No, I would never rule out the possibility that he gets there on the first ballot with Tom Brady. Imagine the celebration that would be to have those two go into the Hall of Fame together. You just never know how that might end up breaking down. But otherwise, Darren Waller. So Darren Waller.
Yeah, let's talk about Darren Waller.
Darren Waller finished 5th with 12.9 on average. He missed a good portion of games. He only played in 10 games during the fantasy season. Do you think Darren Waller will be back in the top 3 next season?
Yeah, I do. Darren Waller is one that I'd feel confident with. Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. Again, I'm going to be the guy thinking Travis Kelce is going to be the tight end 1 next year again, and I don't see why not.
He probably if Lamar Jackson and even one of those running backs is healthy, I don't think Mark Andrews is a tight end 1. That could be hot take-ish, but I really don't think even if you get J.K. Dobbins back into the picture and how he was a big play waiting to happen in the pass game, in the short pass game, I really don't think that Mark Andrews, you take away like even just a few touches and that 17.9 versus 17.8 versus 16.6 average, that's the difference between Andrews and Kelsey is 1 and 2. I think that difference disappears, and Travis Kelsey is a tight end one this season on a per game basis. Like, I think it's just something so simple like that that could really change the way things go for Mark Andrews. And that's why, would I take Mark Andrews in a draft, depending on where he's at? I would not take him as one of the top 5 tight ends off the board, I don't think. I think you got Pitts, you got Kelsey, you got Kittle, you got Waller. I think Hawkinson goes ahead of him just based on the sheer fact of workload. What you can almost guarantee is going to be there for those guys. I don't think I can almost guarantee Mark Andrews gets this same workload as what he had this year. I wouldn't take him as high as some of those other guys who may be in the top 5, but he is definitely a safe bet. When you get into the 6, the 7, the 8, when we're talking about, you're talking the Dalton Schultz, Dawson Knox, Dallas Goddard, Logan Thomas, Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki's of the world. Yes, I'm taking Mark Andrews ahead of all of those guys probably every single day because he's been so consistent at the tight end position.
No, actually, Connor, it's funny you actually mentioned the 2 guys that I wanted to offbeat, just throw it at you and ask you exactly how you felt about him. And one was the 4th overall in points, but I think he's tight end 7 in points per game. That was Dalton Schultz. How do you feel about him going forward in fantasy, knowing the fact that maybe the only receiving weapon that might still be intact is CeeDee Lamb? He's done enough to show at least confidence in Dak Prescott. Sorry, almost had a little bit of a slip. And are you buying him up right now? And on the other side of the coin, there's a touchdown-dependent Dawson Knox, who on the other side of that coin is Emmanuel Sanders still there. Is Cole Beasley still there? It doesn't matter because you still have Gabriel Davis battling for touches and Stephon Diggs. What are you doing with him? Are you selling the hype? Which one are you selling? Are you buying? Either one? Let me know.
If I was to pick which one I would be selling and which one I would want Dalton Schultz, 100%. I think Dalton Schultz is the one to have. And I tweeted about this, actually, I think it was this morning, about the cap situation in Dallas. They are negative $21 million. They can post June 1st release Amari Cooper, free up $20 million, or they could just straight up cut him any day they feel and save $16 million. It is a no-brainer decision that he has to be a cap casualty. And Stephen Jones has mentioned Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence are likely cap casualties in Dallas. And that frees up the money to bring back targets like you won't get Michael Gallup back, but Cedric Wilson likely comes back. Dalton Schultz likely comes back because you do need pieces to this offense. And I don't know if Blake Jarwin proved enough. I missed on that one. I thought Jarwin was the guy to have mostly based on a salary cap circumstance, but clearly Dalton Schultz has showed out. Will they be able to pay the Dalton Schultz number is a big question. But if Dalton Schultz is back in Dallas, 100% you buy that. And depending on where he goes, suddenly I'm a little more concerned because I think it had to do a lot with Dak Prescott really trusting him and putting the ball on him a lot in a game. Dawson Knox, you said it, man. Look at Gabriel Davis in that last playoff game, 4 touchdowns. Dawson Knox I don't think he had a touchdown. He might have had one. I can't remember if Dawson Knox had one. I know Singletary had one, and I know that Gabe Davis had 4. But at the end of the day, if you got 2 red zone monsters, you probably want the one who's going to see more of a target share from a yards per reception standpoint, which to me is Gabriel Davis, not Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox relied so much on the touchdowns. And I wish I could break down the numbers, and maybe I'll dive into it later about how reliant he was based on the sheer percentage of points that came strictly from the touchdown versus from the actual yards per reception and the actual receptions that he made. So 100% Dalton Schultz. I think you can almost pick Dalton Schultz no matter where he goes, because if he doesn't come back to Dallas, he's getting paid and he's going somewheres who's going to make him a focal point of that offense, at least in the slot and at the tight end position.
What if you went to a team like Arizona?
100%. Max Williams is a free agent. Zach Ertz is a free agent. Or is Williams a free agent? I'm not 100% certain on Williams, but he is more effective than Williams. And if Ertz does not come back into the picture, Dalton Schultz, 100%, I would take him. I mean, you saw how bad that offense got without DeAndre Hopkins. Any type of receiving weapon or viable receiving weapon is going to automatically upgrade that situation because they're going to be out Christian Kirk. So similar, they have Chase Edmonds and James Conner as pending free agents as well. Can you afford to bring everything back? You know, very similar situation there. In a offense with a lot of volume, I think Dalton Schultz will succeed. I think Dalton Schultz will have great opportunity. But I think Dallas would be the best spot. Dallas is a no-brainer buy. If he signs back in Dallas, then I think you got to get your hands on Dalton Schultz because you know Gallup won't be back and you know that Cooper's probably out of the picture. Probably a big shout out to CeeDee Lamb here as well because people are kind of throwing shade on CeeDee Lamb for the way the season ended.
Oh,
come
yeah.
on now. Come on now. The writing was on the wall with Amari Cooper. The cap situation, writing was on the wall for Michael Gallup won't be back. But you could see a Cedric Wilson back, and look what he did. You can CeeDee Lamb's obviously back. Dalton Schultz is back. Paul might be back. Pollard's back. Zeke's back. CeeDee Lamb is going to see like 120 plus targets next year without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's some other tight ends we want to talk about in our revisiting before we move on? We talked about Dawson Knox. What about Dallas Goddard? What are your thoughts on Dallas Goddard? I mean, as an Eagles fan, I watched, and there was one thing that stood out to me. He had some major case of the dropsies in the last about 5 weeks of the season, plus playoffs, 4 or 5 weeks of the season in the playoffs. That is concerning, but obviously you know he's going to be a focal point of that offense. I mean, I understand they're going to go out, they're going to get a wide receiver too. It's common knowledge. Are they going to draft him? I don't think they're going to draft him in round one. I see almost no way they go 3 straight years of drafting a first-round wide receiver, even with 3 first-round picks this season. But you know, even if they bring in another tight end, whatever the situation is, that offense is centered around Devonta Smith and Dallas Goddard. But what price are you going to have to pay for Dallas Goddard right now is the question. So what are your thoughts on Dallas Goddard? I'll try and get your unbiased opinion.
Okay, so now Goddard's at the point where I would rather wait on price point at the tight end, and I don't want to miss on other pieces. Like there's high-end wide receivers in his range where he's going, and I'd rather not swing and miss. I'd rather just wait on the tight end because, again, every year somebody comes out of the woodwork and ends up being, tight end 3, tight end 4.
Dalton Schultz,
that's fine.
Dawson
right?
Knox, the guys appear. They come out of nowhere.
The Logan Thomases, it always happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. This year, maybe 4 tight ends that I will get. And then after that, forget it. I'll wait until, probably the last round or second, third, last round to grab a guy because it doesn't really matter. It's even been proven you can stream tight ends and get in the top 10 just streaming a weekly. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you there. You can definitely almost stream tight ends like you do quarterbacks. You just got to find the right matchups, play the right matchups where their second level is really spotty and you can really get some gains there. And sometimes you can ride a hot hand for a little bit and sell them at a premium, just like
now, if one falls into my lap, I'm going to take them. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong.
Because there could be a lot of guys thinking like you on Dallas Goddard that drives him down. I don't know.
But he's not going to be like at that point. Tight end won't be a necessity to fill my spot, right? Like some guys that I don't like in their roster build construction is like they have a need to fill their starting spots before their bench. Like to me, that's asinine. Like if you have to start, like if you have to have one and it's in your bylaw, fill it at the last round if that's what you need to do, or whenever it falls into place. But like, don't reach for it anyway. That's like my thing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking like just briefly, like if you look at wide receiver, you have up to 200 PPR points all the way to the wide receiver 25. You go to the tight end position, you have over 200 points all the way to position to player number 2. That is it. And then you have George Kittle at 192, Dalton Schultz at 191, and then you get the drop off to Pitts at 173, Zach Ertz at 165. Like, why would you choose knowingly to address the tight end position and say, I got to get that starter in my lineup when imagine how far you have to go down to get to on the wide receiver side to get to 165. Like you're probably dropping down into the 40s and the 50s to get to that point.
And see, wouldn't you rather build your, especially in leagues where I'm finding now it's a lot more to start with 3 wide receivers or an extra flex. Wouldn't you rather have these extra flex options and bench week fillers because nothing's perfect. Like, yeah, we want to fill them with running backs, but if injuries happen, even they happen with wide receivers, I'm sure less frequently, but still, like, don't you need, I would rather have a plethora of trade options / 5-week fillers than one startable tight end. I'd rather have like 6 bye-week players on my bench that score more than my starting tight end.
165 gets you to 31 and 32, Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne. So you can find those random guys that you can stream.
If Kendrick Bourne or Dallas Goddard, I'll take Dallas Goddard there.
Definitely, like because obviously that Kendrick Bourne just kind of came out of nowhere, had some really good games, got a few touchdowns, obviously. But I agree with you. Like, if you're sitting there, you're saying, I need a tight end. Well, I might as well grab the best available tight end to throw him in at my starting spot. And there's still, like, really good options at, like, the running back position and the wide receiver position. But you're sitting there and you're like, well, this wide receiver is going to be a wide receiver 3 or 4. Why would I grab him? Because he's likely going to outscore your tight end option. That is why you do it. You just leave tight end. And I mean, you did it in the Scott Fish Bowl. You did you not? You grabbed tight ends at the very end, like the last 2-3 rounds straight.
Yeah, I grabbed. I grabbed
Jarwin Schultz, right?
Yeah, I grabbed Jarwin Schultz, and then the Indianapolis Colts tight ends,
Mo Alley and Jack Doyle,
and the third one, Granson.
Oh, Granson, yeah. So see, like you can grab them, and on any given week,
and then I just dropped it. Everyone wasn't happening, right? So I ended up dropping. Granson. I think I dropped Granson, and then I rolled Jack Doyle and the 2 Dallas tight ends.
And which would have worked perfectly because of what Dalton Schultz did. So definitely just the sign of what the tight end position is like and how truly volatile the tight end position is. Before we move on quickly, one guy will rise up your ranks and one guy is falling in your ranks.
One guy that is going to be rising up my ranks that is I had him personally ranked at tight end 16. That was Pat Friarmuth. I think he will make it into the fringe tight end 1, tight end 11, 12, 13, 14 range. I understand there is some skepticism with his quarterback play, but everybody says that tight end is a quarterback's friend. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but for this stake, I'm going to push that narrative. A veteran quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger looked at him in crucial third down situations and red zone opportunities, and he delivered. So any quarterback, whether it be Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins or whatever rookie they end up coming in, if they look at that tape and take anything from that, from a Hall of Fame quarterback in Ben, take the fact that he trusted him in crucial down situations and looked to him to be your blanket of security, along with those 3 wide receivers who probably all won't be there next year.
Oh, whoa. Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool are stuck there, but Juju likely won't be there, so that does vacate a massive opportunity.
I just said all 3 probably won't be there. I didn't say that, like, all of them wouldn't be there. I said all 3 probably.
Opportunities definitely going to knock. No, I agree.
There's going to be,
Who will be my biggest riser? Logan Thomas. I have him as my tight end 24. I was super low on him. I was absurdly low on him. And for the life of me, I can't even remember why I was so low. I didn't buy the fact that he was the tight end 1. He got a contract. I thought it was going to be kind of like Blake Jarwin-esque this year. Blake Jarwin got a big, decent money deal for a tight end and literally was almost not. He was injured for a bit of the season and then he was almost non-existent because Dalton Schultz took over the tight end 1 role there in Washington. So I almost felt like Logan Thomas was kind of going to be a bust at his contract, and it's clear Washington definitely missed him. That Washington definitely needed him out there. And, well, I mean, they need a quarterback as well. But to be honest, they needed that option in the short or intermediate game like Logan Thomas, who could really help open the deep game for a guy like Terry McLaurin and stuff. So Logan Thomas is going to definitely be rising for me despite the injury. I think he's a guy you can definitely buy low. I know he's 30 years old, but it's a tight end position. Buy where you know you're going to get some opportunity, even this with how cheap it might be. And what about your faller? Who's going to be your biggest faller?
Well, in the game of chutes and ladders, I gave you the guy climbing the ladder and then the guy falling down the chute. It has to be Robert Tonyan. With the departure of most definitely Aaron Rodgers, I would imagine, and the absurd rise to fame of Robert Tonyan, of the obscurity of the tight end position, because that is exactly what it was. He was a waiver wire pickup, and that is why you should avoid it all after the top, maybe 4, I would say, because I am advocating for Travis Kelce to still be in there.
I like it. No, that's a good one. Robert Tonyan was actually at 13 for me. But my biggest faller is going to be Adam Troutman. Similar circumstance, insanely volatile situation at the quarterback position. He was on the field a ton, man. He ran routes. He was out there blocking. He was out there doing it all. And he almost never got looked at. That was so excruciatingly frustrating to watch if you were an Adam Troutman owner, that he was on the field over 90% of the time and barely got looks at the tight end position. He's more of a body that's just out there on the field, but not necessarily somebody who's going to be targeted. So, yeah, Adam Troutman for me is dropping because he was my tight end 12 in my Dynasty rankings. So, just goes to show the volatility there at the position.
Well, this tiny tumbler is absolutely shocked by that. Because she wants to know, even with the departure of Sean Payton and the potential new offense coming in, totally revamped offense, you don't think he has a potential chance to become a potential playmaker in a new offensive scheming? Nola.
I think he can be. I think there's the opportunity, but when you're looking at ranking him and you're thinking about, should I rank him at the tail end of my tight end ones and tell people get him in Dynasty? I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can be that guy to say that. I mean, Michael Thomas might be out of the picture, but then it becomes a circumstance of what's his opportunity going to look like? And is he going to be capable of producing with that opportunity? It's so hard to tell. It's going to look so different in New Orleans. And I would be scared to go in on Adam Troutman, despite the potential opportunity and circumstance. If you can get him really low and stash him as your tight end 3 on your roster, maybe bury him down there, then sure, by all means. If you got a 4-round, 5-round rookie draft and you're sitting there and you're staring down, Bailey Zappi a quarterback who's going to be a perennial backup or practice squatter, and you could trade that 4th round pick and bring in Adam Troutman to your roster, 100%. Yes, I would advocate for that type of move.
All right, then. All right. I don't really roll 3 tight ends. I think that's a little absurd. But
It depends how big your bench is, man. Like, maybe if you need that, maybe
for the sake of the tight end edition, I'll say I
roll.
roll 3 tight ends this week and this week only.
Before we move in to the double tight end style, a quick word from Veridian Global.
Here at the Gold Jacket Podcast, we take family very seriously. We know that family doesn't always stop at the bloodline. It's a word that ensures trust. It's a word that, well, around here, means that I know that I can count on you to have my back. Veridian Global is family, a family of the Fantasy Collective, and that is the exact reason Veridian Global will have your back. And I don't just mean literally covering your back in the best apparel they can possibly outfit you in. I mean it every step of the way, from finding the brand that fits you best to tracking your order to making sure you are fully satisfied at every step. With over 50 brands a part of the Fantasy Football Collective family, what are you waiting for? Join the family now. VeridianGlobal.com. Man, that is a banger ad. Woo!
That couldn't be because, you're the guy who recorded the ad. I mean, you found some very uplifting and upbeat music. I love it. You know what? I don't even care. I love it. It makes me want to go to VeridianGlobal.com right now and buy from one of the over 150 brands and stylings that Veridian Global has. So I don't care what anybody says. It
does its job.
You got a shopper in me. Double time, sponsored by Trophy Smack. Make sure your fantasy league champion feels well respected and like a real world champion with Trophy Smack next season. Sure, a virtual sleeper trophy is cool and the money you win feels good in your wallet, but with over 1,000 customizable trophy combinations, championship belts, and rings to choose from, you can commemorate your league's champion in style. Use the promo code TNFF with your purchase and receive a free championship ring. That's trophysmack.com and promo code TNFF at checkout. First one, tight end 6. Man, I messed up here because I did not put their points per game. Give me a second.
No, you did not.
Tight end number 6. We are looking at an average of 12.1. And tight end 7, we are looking at an average of 12.0. We talked about both of these guys at length. TJ Hawkinson is the tight end 6. Dalton Schultz is the tight end 7. Which one do you want for Dynasty?
Whew. Man, I'm going to probably roll for price point and cost acquisition with Dalton Schultz. And even then, it'd probably be too expensive for me. As I alluded to earlier, TJ Hawkinson
too rich for your
TJ Hawkinson's like gonna fall right in that 5, 6, 7 range. Dalton Schultz, I could imagine, would probably roll in that like 10, 11, 12 range, maybe even 13 if he got lucky. But that's like right in the sweet spot for wide receivers. So at cost of acquisition, I'm going to roll with Dalton Schultz for this answer.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I really want to say TJ Hawkinson because I really like TJ Hawkinson. I think the opportunity is there.
TJ, like if it's in a vacuum, sure.
100%. Like I think I'm gonna have to go with TJ Hawkinson here because like even if Dalton Schultz returns to Dallas, I mean he feels like that guy who hopped into the top 5 tight ends, but I fear won't be able to repeat as a top 5 tight end. So I mean, depending on where you end up drafting him, he could end up being a really nice value for you. But I'm going with TJ Hawkinson because he's proven when healthy, he's fully capable of carrying a significant workload. And at the present situation, it looks like it's DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and TJ Hawkinson as like the core of that offense with Jared Goff throwing the football. So I more than trust TJ Hawkinson for the short term and likely for the long term.
And he's got better trade value.
Definitely better trade value. So if he starts just ripping off great games, 20-point games in the early going, you can trade him and get so much value out of a guy like him versus a guy like Dalton Schultz. So I'm going with TJ Hawkinson on this one. Next one, the next two after that, tight end 8 and tight end 9. One is at 11.1 fantasy points per game, the other at 11.0. The touchdown dependent, Dawson Knox, or the man with the dropsies, Dallas Goddard. Who you got, Jim?
Ooh. See, for this, I'm going strictly because this is in a vacuum. They are at the right spots. Same type of tight end in my back where you're going to get the point total, eventual, point total, but different way you're going to get it. But the trade value is better for one, I think, right now. And maybe it's just because of the area that I'm living in, Connor, but the Bills Mafia is a crazy bunch. And Dawson Knox is very easy sell, at least around these parts. I don't know about around them parts with Dallas Goddard as king, but around these parts, it's Dawson Knox. So I'd be taking Dawson Knox in that strictly for trade value alone.
See, this is interesting because I feel like if you were to poll the fantasy community, this is one of those ones where you'd probably get almost 50-50 out of it. Because it feels like the trade value is there, like Dallas Goddard, tight end number 1, like the second guy to be targeted in an offense behind Devontae Smith. And even then, they pretty much both get 6 targets a night, 7 targets a night, 8 targets a night. It's almost like a 50-50 split.
So they're tied up. Ready? They're all tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want throwing the ball to them?
Josh Allen.
There's your tiebreaker.
By far. Yeah, so I think I'd probably go Dawson Knox here too, just for the fact that at this point in this, if you draft Dawson Knox or you draft Dallas Goddard at tight end 7 or tight end 8, I almost think I'd want them to trade them because I think you could get more out of a potential trade out of one of them than their use on your roster. So
exactly,
and especially at a volatile tight end position. So I'll agree with you, Dawson Knox. Mostly for who's throwing the football and the certainty that he will hit the target usually in Josh Allen. Next up, tight end 11, tight end 12. We got at 10.7 fantasy points and 10.4 fantasy points. Logan Thomas and Noah Fant. Who you got, Jim?
I had to mute that because that was a very loud, exhausted sigh for these two. Talent alone, easy there, pickpocket of the street. No. Sorry, Noah Fant. Just pure athleticism alone. You gotta go with Noah Fant there. And there's also a bunch of donkeys that still believe in that Noah Fant Denver offense, and they'll slap a quarterback in there and call him a bridge work piece. Like Jimmy Garoppolo screams of a Denver Bronco acquisition. He's going to be their next savior.
Ouch! I almost think that might be worse than Teddy Bridgewater, but I guess we will see, won't we? The thing that I have with Noah Fant, the athleticism is there, the age is there, like the breakout, like he's right in that right in that area where you expect that he can do something, he should be able to do something, but then you look at everything around him. You got Javonte Williams. They seem to really enjoy running the football. Maybe things change with the new head coach, but then you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Tim Patrick. You got Cortland Sutton. You got Albert O, who was a ridiculously effective tight end when throwing the football. Like his fantasy points per target is very impressive. His yards per route runner are actually really good. When he's on the field, they really kind of look the way of Albert O as well. So to me, man, it's tough because I love Noah Fant coming out. When it was a Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson debate, I was one of those guys who stood on the side of Noah Fant. And at the end of the day, it's definitely not looking so good. And the fact that I'm sitting here questioning him or 30-year-old Logan Thomas who turned into a very disgruntled Washington Commanders organization.
Very
I
nice
think
one.
I think I'd go with Logan Thomas purely for opportunity on this. I think he has the best chance to get a better opportunity as soon as they fill that quarterback position and as soon as he gets himself healthy, and he'll be a focal point of that offense. It's going to be him, it's going to be Gibson, it's going to be Terry McLaurin. And I think that makes Logan Thomas very important, and that makes Logan Thomas a very intriguing asset. There's just way too much noise in Denver for me to trust that Noah Fant could be anything consistent for you. Whereas I think that Logan Thomas can be consistent and can build some nice trade value that you might be able to leverage and use mid-season or come your trade deadline if you have a trade deadline. So Logan Thomas for me on that one. Next up, it is two athletic tight ends who are free agents. Tight end 23, tight end 24. We are getting into the ugly weeds of this. 7.5 fantasy points and 7.2 fantasy points. David Njoku and Evan Ingram. Jim, who do you got? Is it time to just give up on Evan Ingram? Does destination really matter?
I was already at wide receivers and you asked me like the second tight end double. I was already thinking like which wide receiver would I rather be grabbing? For here, I'd definitely be grabbing a wide receiver. But if I absolutely forced, probably go with Evan Ingram, man. Probably go with Evan Ingram. New coach, right? Savior of Josh Allen is what he's being hailed as.
If he goes back to New York, because I think I'm pretty sure he's a free agent this season. So
he's going. Who's going to take him?
Good, fair point. Similar question could probably be asked about David Njoku. What has he done to be acquired and to be used in my offense? I mean, I had to make things interesting, man. You know, the tight end landscape is ugly. It is desolate.
Well, I hear you.
So picking doubles was not easy this week. Listen,
I love it.
I would probably go Njoku just because he's probably, as soon as he gets acquired, his value, wherever he goes, his value is going to go up. And for some reason, Evan Ingram's still going to be drafted as a fringe tight end one, like he almost is every single damn season. And it makes no sense to me because you are left so disappointed by the output that Evan Ingram gives you. And look, he was a tight end 24 in fantasy points per game. I looked at strictly points per game. Like, how many more times does he need to disappoint you? At least Njoku, someone you can put on your watch list and wait and see with. Because depending on the landing spot and stuff, he's uber athletic. And I think there's an opportunity there if he lands in the right spot to be used in the right offense as well. So I think I'd go.
These two guys, though, Connor, forget David Njoku. I understand you like him. Bruce Arians doesn't like him. OJ Howard ends up dropping a ball and he ends up fucking benching him. Doesn't matter.
All right, these next ones will be a lot funner.
But these guys I want to talk about because I want to know who you got.
Okay, we got tight end 26 out of 7.0 and tight end 27 out of 7.0. As close as they can damn well get. Cole Kmet and Brevin Jordan. I'm going to go Brevin Jordan. If you want me to be honest, first of all, he carries with him the capability of being carried on a taxi squad. That to me is vitally important. The fact that, I mean, as long as you carry the rookie sophomore one, you can carry him on the taxi squad. You can see what happens. You can keep him there without wasting a roster spot. Bonus points for that. Cole Kmet is entering year 3. So now you have to make the decision if he was on your taxi squad, what to do there. But if you dive into Cole Kmet's efficiency metrics, he's really ineffective. Like extremely ineffective for the amount that he's on the field, for the amount that he was targeted. And I know Matt Nagy, Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, that offense was putrid. That offense, you didn't know what you were getting from week to week. Maybe there's a potential there. Jimmy Graham's out of the picture, who poached a few touches here and there. But to me, the efficiency's too ugly. Brevin Jordan started to emerge there at the end of the season. That's exactly what you needed to see from Brevin Jordan. He built that rapport with Davis Mills. And for all purposes of this discussion, it looks like Davis Mills is moving forward as a quarterback. Current discussion.
Yeah, he is.
Current
yeah, he
is.
is.
It looks like Deshaun Watson's going to be at the picture. This draft class, from a quarterback perspective, Albert Breer reported he spoke with a lot of people at the a few evaluators at the Senior Bowl who said there are no starting quarterbacks in this draft class. You have Davis Mills. He started games in the NFL for you. He can play in the NFL for you. He knows what to expect. And I mean, can it get any worse than what it was last season? Obviously, there should be some trending in the right direction with Davis Mills and Brevin Jordan, Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks. There is going to be some great value, I think, in that Texans offense. And Brevin Jordan is one of those guys who you're going to be able to get so cheap, so damn cheap. I might have took the words right out of your mouth, Jim.
Brevin Heaven. Yeah, man. 7th Brevin Heaven. You damn right. This dude is the shit. The shit. And you hit the best point right off the bat. You can call that motherfucker a taxi, and he can sit there and wait while you get that ever important other second development year. It's fantastic, man. Absolutely fantastic.
I like it. I liked Brett
Davis
Jordan.
Mills is going to fucking start.
Listen, I like Brett Jordan coming out, and I talk to guys who like watch film, and they're like, yeah, but what did you see? It's like, man, I watch for the strict purpose of what are they going to do in fantasy for me? Yeah, can the guy block? No, he's not a great blocker. He doesn't bring a whole lot to the game, but he can catch a football. He's athletic, and he can create after the catch. Those are things that I like to see. And now the opportunity in Houston, all the better. All the better. So Brevin Jordan for me as well. Despite the opportunity Cole Kmet may see, his efficiency metrics are too ugly for me to even look at. Whereas Brevin Jordan and Davis Mills were building something potentially pretty over there in Houston. So we'll see what happens there in his rookie season. Just saying, in his rookie season, Brevin Jordan was able to do that. So
I love it.
And I think he was only like 4 points per game behind Kyle Pitts, everybody's favorite rookie. So, you know. 4 points per game. I would be remiss not to add that fact. But you know, whatever. We gotta throw our last bit of shade at Kyle Pitts while we can, because he's probably gonna start to blow up here very quickly. So,
better.
But
let's bring my daughter. Maybe you probably heard her in the background making a whole lot of noise. She was making that one of a kind custom.
That one of a kind gymnastic smack ring, not trophy smack.
Not trophy smack. I'm talking smack.
This is great. This is it. Next week we're gonna be able to react to the Super Bowl and how that went. Before we wrap this up, Bengals or Rams, Jim? Who you got?
I think I got the Rams. Matt Stafford broke his back for Detroit. Let's give him one, baby.
I know. I think there's so many more years for the Bengals to do this, where the LA Rams are all in right now, man. They are all in. They're as far in as they can get. So to me,
I'd like to see the Bengals get this close, taste it, and never get it again. I'm sorry.
Ellis hops in here right now. But man, I agree. I want to see Matt Stafford win one, man. Come on, Ellis. Be fair here. You want to see Matt Stafford win it. They're all in. They're going to crumble because they got no draft picks. They got no youth to build around. They're just going to fall apart. Yeah, Ellis says they're going to do it this year and next. See, there's many years still to come for the Bengals. So we'll see. I'm going with the Rams as well.
Oh, this guy. This year and next. All right.
No biggie. No biggie. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Hasn't made it in 30 years. He's got it back to back. All right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and supporting us and watching. Make sure you rate, review, like, or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up right below. Thank you to all the amazing sponsors. That is Veridian Global, Trophy Smack, Underdog Fantasy. And of course, right above Jim's head, you can find the True North Fantasy Football Crew, TrueNorthFFB.com, at TrueNorthFFB on Twitter, and TNFF Network on YouTube. While you're over there, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow Jim at Gold Jacket QBs right below the beard, and myself at Connor10 TEN right below my beard, which is nowhere near what Jim's is.
Nowhere near as gray. Have 2 kids and you'll get there, buddy.
But for now, we will see you next Tuesday.